I was like, you know what, Amber? If you love your kid, you have to leave him because now you're not alone. You can, if you want to be alone, you can be like your hopeless romantic, whatever, continue to throw money on him, be blind-eyed to whatever that he's doing outside. But you are not alone anymore. You have to think about your kid now. All the money came from me. We hired 2 workers at first, and obviously I had no knowledge about fish or business, right? So we started to lose a lot of money, total of 170k in total from my own savings. So now going back to the fishery port, it's kind of just like, going back to how I was before. Like the Hokkien vulgarities, talking to uncles, speaking in broken English and whatever to them.
Welcome to Before We Get There, the podcast where we talk about the moments that shape us, the ones we plan for, and the ones we don't. I'm your host, Nicholas Braman, and today I'm joined by Amber Tan. Amber left her career as a Singapore Airlines cabin crew to set up a fish business for her then partner, and in the end, she had to take it all over herself when things fell apart. We talked about how she taught herself the trade on the fishery port floor at 3 a.m., what it took to win over a room full of uncles who told her to go home, and the pull between the polish she learned in the skies and the woman she is using Hokkien vulgarities on the wet market floor. She'd have fought to save the business either way, but leaving him is the part she says she couldn't have done without her daughter. We got into all that and much more. Enjoy the show.
Hi, Amber. It's
Hello.
great to have you join me today. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Thank you for inviting me. An honor.
Well, you've been all over the news recently, kind of going viral across a lot of media for
For the bad reasons.
not a bad reason just in case anybody doesn't know your name yet. So you have a fishmongering business that you run yourself, right?
Yeah, unbelievable, I know. It's actually at Jurong Fishery Port, so we do wholesale. I also do have a little warehouse at Johor Bahru, so I do sell live marble gold to restaurants as well. Yeah, and the news, after I did it, and then it was like boom, and then everybody was like, oh, Amber, you're a celebrity, and I'm like, I'm not. Look, honestly, I wouldn't have exchanged it because, I just really wanted more people to know about my business because it was struggling when I took over. Just really hoped that, I would get some organic customers from there. And there was really some, and they are all really very nice. So feel thankful.
That's good to hear. So I think maybe let's start with your business. So that's good to hear that you got kind of a bump. You were really struggling with, I think was it last year or the year before?
It was actually struggling every year. When I first started, it was for my ex, right? So he was like, hey, I'm just gonna, because he's Malaysian. So he said, baby, let me help you to earn some money in Sing dollars and stuff. You set up a company for me and let's just do a business. So because back then I left SQ, right? And then, after leaving SQ, you're used to that irregular timing. You never want to do an 8 to 5. So, it was also kind of my fault, right? Like, I was like aimless. I really didn't know what to do. I didn't want to do a property agent or insurance agent kind of thing because that's like the template people from SQ usually take. Yeah, I really wanted to be different. So I agreed, set up the business. All the money came from me. We hired 2 workers at first. And obviously, I had no knowledge about fish or business, right? So we started to lose a lot of money, total of 170k in total from my own savings. So after that, I got pregnant. And I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore because I don't see light of day. It's like the money's just going out. It just don't make sense because it's already more than 6 months. Normally for a company, you take about 6 to 8 months to break even. It was still in the red. I pointed out some problems and then, slowly I get to realize that, his character is just not what I thought it was. So 5 months in, realized that he was lying to me about everything. And then I put the handbrakes. I said, no, for the sake of my baby, the rest of my money, obviously I didn't tell him that I still had a little bit. I said, no, I'm not going to continue. So he put in money after that. We still continued to stay together because I was a hopeless romantic thinking, you know what, he's going to change. That change never came. But I did. I changed. So I started putting in money and everything, and I was doing okay. Like after I got the babies out, I was breastfeeding. After that, I started to work. I do my photo shoots and events and whatever that I could find. And then was when I caught him again, the very last time. And I said, you know what, this is over. And the nightmare wasn't over for me, see. That was when I realized he went to Indonesia, tried to get some suppliers to sell him fish. They have already shipped everything and it was on the way to Singapore. The company was under my name still. Worker is under my name, right? The work permit and everything. And he's like, oh yeah, I have no money. And that's it. So he ignored all their calls and everything. Obviously, the next person they're going to look for is me. So that was when I realized, in a way, I have to pay this money, right? You can't owe the government money. So I was like, okay, I have no choice. I decided to take over and I'm like, okay, I will put in this last 10,000. I know some of the articles, they were like saying, oh my God, Amber only had $300 left in her bank. It was actually the company's bank account. If I only have $300, can you lend me some money? Yeah, so with that, I put in 10K. At the end of December, it was left with 300. So I did a painful decision. I let the worker go. I went to the fishery port myself. I mean, I figured to do this kind of business, if you wanted to thrive, you have to be there anyway. So I did it. I made some changes and so the supply kept coming. By February, after Chinese New Year, I managed to break even. Yeah, so that's quite a okay thing.
That's great.
Mm.
So back at the start, when you first had this idea to run the business, so the idea was just he was going to go run the business and you were hands off. You just provide the company license.
I wanted to go.
Funds.
I'm actually a pretty hands-on person because I feel like any company, right? Any business that you do, you have to be there. The boss has to be there. You don't have to be there all the time because I understand that time is a luxury, right? We do our best to free up time. But so he was like, oh, you're a girl. You shouldn't be there. It's a male-dominated place, blah, blah, blah. And only now, on hindsight, I realized that they were all excuses.
And so looking back, of course, now you have hindsight, but it seems like it's such, there's people who have challenges in business, who have partners who maybe are not trustworthy or things don't work out, but it was kind of entwined, both your personal and your business.
That's the worst, actually. So one of the biggest advice that a lot of my friends who own businesses, they tell me the same thing. They say, try to keep your personal separate. That means husband and wife or girlfriend and boyfriend, try not to have a business together. And I don't think it applies to everyone, right? I just think for my case, it was really just a very solid example that I should have kept it separate.
And so when you had to make that decision, whether you're going to get hands-on and go down there and do it yourself, what was going through your mind? What was that decision process like?
Nothing. I was actually really blank. Honestly, thinking back, I think for the past months, I'm better now, right? But early part of, when I first found out about the affair and then all the way till when I took over, I could tell you my mind was blank. My heart was overwhelmed. I was really, really heartbroken. And the only thing I knew was that I really, really need to survive. I need to feed my baby. And I have a family that, care for me. My parents are old. And yeah. So I think whatever I did at the point of time was really just survival mode. So it was like, adrenaline and anxiety and just, trying to live till I see the next day.
I didn't even think of this connection before this interview, but I actually worked on fishing boats in Alaska for 6 months, doing processing the fish, gutting and doing the flash freezing and everything. And so I know the environment. It's just like slimy and smelly and
very smelly, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
What was it like for you when you first started? Was it a shock?
I know for the wow factor, you'd be like, oh my God, yeah, I couldn't take it. But honestly, I thought it was okay. In fact, it was more of like the interactions with like suppliers, because some of them can be really, really scheming. Yeah, that was the only part that really put me off. But being there at the actual environment, it's actually okay. I mean, feel bad, like when I take Grab home and then I have to apologize profusely to the Grab. Like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I know I'm very smelly. But most of them are cool. They're like, oh, it's okay. Not smelly at all. Yeah, but it is. I see a lot of people falling down. I think it'll be my turn soon. I'll fall down. So I have not as of now. The record is still clean. Yeah, but the slime and everything does get into the nails. So back then when the 8 days and Storm and they came to interview, and I was just repeating myself, please, you have to scrub your nails, and it does get it to like your nails, and yeah, you have to shower your hair twice for the smell to really go away.
And how about learning the business? Like, I mean, we eat fish, but I don't think that's enough to actually run the business.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think it was really just, hands-on is something that will really help the most, for me at least. So for the past 3 years, I have learned quite a bit. And I would say expensive mistakes help you to learn the most. Because everything's my money, right? So if we have like a shipment and it makes a loss, I'm the one that feels the pain. So it's kind of like etched in my brain, like, okay, do not, try this supply anymore. Don't come this on this day, that kind of thing. I learned like that.
And so now your kid is a year plus, 2 years old.
She just turned 2.
Just turned 2.
Time flies.
Congratulations. Yeah,
Thank you.
Getting bigger already. I have a 4-year-old daughter. So really, they just go so fast. It's so fun. So when you are going through this, like the very heart of it, like not only are you see all your money's gone and you're going through relationship challenges, but you also have, you have a kid coming. What were the thoughts going through, like, because you said there's that moment, like, no, I have to protect myself. I have to protect my family and my baby that's coming. Was there like a last straw that made you have this realization?
Yeah, the fourth time, the last time I caught him together with, so that was the same period of time when he threw me to pay off everything, right, for the suppliers and the worker. So everything came crashing down together. And back then I realized that, so my friend's words to me really stuck. She was like, you have a daughter. And if you continue to stay with this guy, one day she's going to grow up and she's going to be like, so that's how we are supposed to be treated by guys. So she said, you going to set an example for her or not? Are you going to show her that mommy's okay to get treated this way? And so it's okay if you get treated this way by guys in the future. So that really just struck. Yeah, and something in me just, snapped, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it one step at a time. So at that point of time, because my things were still at Malaysia and stuff, right? Because we built a house, a life there, and I didn't know where else to go. I was literally homeless. I mean, I could stay with my parents, but it's not the same. And it's that memory of all this effort and years of love that I put in so hard because he wanted a family. I gave him that and he didn't cherish it. And now the thing is that family is still here, my baby is still here and she's breathing and growing and I gotta do something. I only know the only thing is I have a goal in mind, and that was to live him and to have a business that can thrive. So every day I'm just, like, my mind's a blank because I'm like, I'm still recovering from that heartbreak of catching him again. It's like, dude, we all are adults, right? We have lives to lead. We have a lot of things to do. And I don't know why you can't just, you either let me go or he wants the best of both worlds, right? I mean, I had my baby, it helped a lot. And focusing on the business helped as well. Yeah. And honestly, with all the media attention, it also helped me in a way where like, hey, now the whole world knows that you have already left him. You better don't go back to him.
And so when you talk about that time where you're kind of just going through it and your mind is blank, do you think you're still in that part of things, or have you had a chance to like step back and reflect, strategize, and think about what the future might look like?
I think those tough days are over. I do have a very concrete set of things that I want to do now. And yeah, lucky it's not blanket. I felt like an idiot. So yeah, first of all, I would like to focus on my business. And right now I'm also looking to purchase a place of my own in Singapore. Yeah, I know it's more difficult now, right? Because of after all the money that's gone to him. So I'm rebuilding, really doing little things to focus on myself, like do my hair, work out, and really spend time with my kid, planning for her. And I think the hardest thing is just doing everything alone. So I really fully now understand why people always say, oh, I think the single moms are so great, they're so brave. Back then, I really didn't think of it. When I was young and childish, I always ask myself, why all these girls, they so stupid, Like, why would they allow themselves to be in this position where they are stuck with a kid alone? And now I realize that better watch what you say. Yeah, because like I'm living everything that I never wanted to happen to anyone, and it happened to me. And now I really start to appreciate how resilient women can actually be. Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that really helped me to, you know, it's like the light at the end of the tunnel. Every time I'll tell myself, okay, you know what? You are already going there. You are a woman, you're strong, and you're a mother, and you can go through anything. Honestly, I think if anybody can get through a relationship with my ex, they are very fine.
Very strong, right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I have a friend who is a woman who is a funeral director. She took over her father's business. I worked with her for some projects last year, and it's a very traditional business as well, very male dominated. And she always talked about how she came in, like expectations were that she wasn't going to last, that, she didn't know she wouldn't be able to learn the business because she was a woman and this sort of thing. But I think you've had both positive and negative comments. You mentioned, I think sometimes, the other worker, the other business owners there are all very receptive. And like, what's that been like?
I guess I can understand how your friend feels to a certain extent. At first, that's how I feel as well. Because obviously, at Fishery Port, they're all uncles and they don't wear clothes. At first, there were a lot of, because you see, they were not sure of like, hey, why is this random girl just like coming here? She don't know anything. And then over time, especially after the articles as well, they finally realized, oh, so this is what happened to Amber. So they realized that I'm there not by choice, I mean, like I was because of this difficult circumstance. And so I think in a way, they also admire my resilience. They told me that. Yeah, so it's actually very heartwarming. At first, they'll be like, hey, Mia, go, you see your hand like that, you got do housework one meh? Yeah, that kind of thing. Or like, hey, you don't know how to count. Never mind, take the calculator, this kind of thing.
So it sounds like, you had a successful career and, working for Singapore Airlines, but now this is like another
very different.
But like even for your self-worth or self-confidence about your capabilities, like, wow, I can do this. I can run the business by myself. You think about that?
I wouldn't think that I'm successful, right? But I do admit it's really very different from everything that I've done before. And I think the most challenging part of this is really just not knowing what to do. Because, like people can advise you and stuff, but when it comes to business, it's a cutthroat industry. It's like nobody's going to tell you things that will make you money. Nobody's going to tell you their source of this fish is good. I tell you where's my supply. No. At the end of the day, they could tell you, see, I told you so, right? But if you really go to them and ask for help, they're not going to give you 100% unless that person is somehow, in fact, I don't think there will ever be unless that person is your family. Or like even your close friends can betray you. So I think doing a business, right, it's really just like every day when you wake up, there's bound to be a new problem. And, you have to think on your feet and you're like, there's nobody I can ask. This is the part that gets, but at the same time, after you solve that problem, you'll be like, we survived.
And so having gone through this experience of having your trust broken both as a business partner and as in a relationship, has that changed the way you look at people or approach how much you're gonna trust people?
I would say for this part, I not really learned my lesson. I still believe that I'm still not guarded in a sense where, because he lied about everything. But now when I meet new people and then they tell me, oh, I earn like this much money a month, I still believe them, right? I just think that he's probably just one of the worst. So it's not fair to future people I meet in the future to let somebody like that like gives me PTSD, and it affects the way that I look at people.
So going back to you worked as Singapore Airlines for a long time, and then you've done events and streaming, and you've done now your business, so many different things. Was there any indicator that like have you always been like a free spirit, or what do you think led you to all these varied interests and kind of work you've done?
I think I'm still kind of like the same. In fact, this fish business suits me a lot because I'm very uncouth. So I think that part's fine. So yeah, so when you and the other people are like, oh, how is it like the fishery port? Is it like scary and dirty and slimy? And I'm like, that I don't know. Am I very dirty? Maybe my hygiene threshold very low. I'm like, no, that's fine. I think it's okay. The smell's fine for me. And when it comes to mindset and stuff, I think freedom for me is something that it's like a deal breaker. I really need my freedom, and that's why the thought of like an 8 to 5, I'm like, no. And I think this is the best because I want to be there for my kid when she's growing up, because now I have to take the place of the father as well. I really want her to have the best that she deserves.
And now that she's getting older and having more of a personality and probably starting to be able to talk and that sort of thing, how, like, have you seen that more, like, been pulled to it and more time with her and to try to fill both of those roles more when she was, very small?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially because my sister gave birth to him 3 months younger than mine. So she saw that I was pregnant and nobody expected me to be pregnant. They were like, Amber, you hate kids. What happened to you? Is there like an accident? I said, no, I planned it. And they were like, you planned it? Nobody believed me. So after that, my sister was like, she has a kid. She hates children. She's also, I think, FOMO. So she got pregnant and stuff. Then. So I think sometimes when it's family outing and then her husband comes along, that part really hits me because I feel sad, not for myself, right? But for my kid. I feel like, I feel like a failure sometimes. I know I shouldn't think that way, you see, the father is taking care of the kid, playing with my nephew. And not just them, like, when you go out to a family place and you see complete family, that still really gets to me so much that sometimes I would cry. I'll just cry and continue to do normal things because I didn't want my daughter to think that I'm sad. So I'll be like feeding her and crying at the same time. Yeah, that's one thing that really hit me. And so as much as I detest dating at the moment, I'm still open to it because I mean it's not really fair to the next guy. But I mean obviously I still want a companion, right? But I think more importantly, I really hope that there's somebody that can accept my kid because I really think she deserves to have a wholesome, complete family. I think it affects them in a way. I mean, we will not go down the rabbit hole, don't worry. Yeah, I just think that...
No, I mean, I'm from the US, so I think it's quite different here than there. I mean, it's much more common for single parents there. So I know there's a lot of kids growing up with single parents. And I think, whether or not eventually you find someone or you decide, what happens next, at least from the kid's perspective, in my opinion, having one great parent is much better than having one shitty parent.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why I tell myself, like, through all those things, I'm like, I really just got to do something and let my daughter know that she's loved and she's protected and that no matter what happens, I will never let her go through this kind of thing. I mean, I had a hard childhood. So I really want to give her things that she can. Obviously not being a sport brat, but So every time I think about something at work that really just, it's just insane. And I will look at her and I'm like, I really, really just want nothing else but to be a mom that you'll be proud of. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Yeah.
Do you think at that point, if you hadn't had her, would you have pushed through to make the business survive?
Wow, that's a good question. I think I would, but I think if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have left him. Yeah. Because you see, I loved him so much, right? The fact that I could give him a baby, even though I didn't want to at first. I really did a lot of things for him. That's why I forgave him 4 times. However, I was like, you know what, Amber? If you love your kid, you have to leave him because now you're not alone. You can, if you want to be alone, you can be like your hopeless romantic, whatever, continue to throw money on him, be blind-eyed to whatever that he's doing outside. But you are not alone anymore. You have to think about your kid now. The money that you have left, whatever that's left, it's for her. So I knew that if I continue to stay with him, that's not being fair to her. I have to be strong and, just even if it kills me, I have to let him go. So thank God for her, actually.
And so now that you're outside of it, you look back and say,
What the
see clearly what was I doing?
Yeah. So and all my friends, they would love to remind me all the time, hey, how is it? Think about the trash that you was with for like 4 years. Yeah. So constantly reminded. And so next Tuesday, I'm gonna get all my things and the baby's things back from Malaysia. I'll totally just, move everything back here in Singapore. And that will really mark the end of the chapter. I have decided that I will not let him see the baby unless he has proven to me that he's worthy, stuff like probably return me some money or stuff. And I know that maybe some people think that it's selfish or whatever, but I don't think he deserves a spot in my life.
So going back to, I think, the work and business side of things, when I was researching and thinking about this conversation, I was thinking that, probably actually working as a flight attendant and the labor that you're doing now for your business is maybe a bit of crossover with the weird hours, more physical than people might realize, that sort of thing. But on the other hand, like the identity part of things, it's quite different. You're getting dressed up, you wear the uniform, the clothes, and people, are
the glamorous job.
Walking to the airport, all that sort of thing. How has that affected like your perception of yourself or how you see yourself?
I think as much as SQ is being a cabin crew of SQ is honestly an honor, and the service and everything that they offer is top notch. I would say I loved being a crew because taught me a lot about grace and feminism and good customer service, which I've actually brought over, and it stuck with me for the rest of until now. Things like how to do customer recovery and stuff. Yeah, service recovery and how to talk to people, how to read them and stuff. So all these things stays with me. And like if today another crew sees me, they'll be like, are you a crew? Yeah. So I think some parts of
you can recognize each other.
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
So
really?
SQ actually purposely picked people that I don't know about now, but they have this template, that like, okay, so a certain behavior or a trait. So after that, when you go to the school where they have like intensive training, you really just come out the way that they want you to be, which is like, service orientated and like, friendly, warm, and also elegant. And I really think that the most important thing was the feminine charm that I learned to, it's like, we all had it, right? But because growing up, I was really just like a boy and all my friends are guys, even to. So I really appreciated what I learned there. And so now going back to the fishery port, it's kind of just like, going back to how I was before, like the Hokkien vulgarities, talking to uncles, speaking in broken English and whatever to them. But brought over that SQ identity with me as well. And, when it comes to meeting people like you, for example, I mean, probably would be like, if you go to the port and you'd be like, oh my God, is that Amber that I was talking to just, yeah. So I think a lot of things I learned. And I think both of this, SQ thing and this fishery port thing both are part of me. And I'm just really learning to weave them together and to form this person that's just my authentic self. Yeah, I love it.
Is it more like code switching? Like when you're in that environment, you have a certain way you act and talk, and then when you're in a formal setting, or is it all coming together and like?
No. So at the fishery port, if I go over to like my buddies or my customers talking like this, they'll be like, "Are you all right?" Yeah. So just switch back to a little more informal kind of thing. Where I talk with my family, it's also like that. Like the Hokkien, then like some vulgarities thrown in, Mandarin, mix a bit of Bahasa, and just more open and yeah. Whereas now, because this is a formal setting, so I'm like SQ mode on.
And when you mentioned like you were a tomboy growing up, how did you end up going to work for SQ?
Yeah. So that was the reason why I actually joined it, because my grandfather, loved him to bits. He passed away. His dream was to see me join SQ because he would fly me to a different country each year for my birthday and a family as well. And he was like, you see all of them? So graceful, everything. Look at you. So yeah, I was a tomboy, and like, hanging out with boys, right? It really changes you. So we'll do like monkey bars during recess and like catching and all these things. So I wanted to fulfill that dream for him, and I did. And I think he made the right call.
That's awesome. So when you are looking forward, so your things are going much better now in the business, at least breaking even and making money, hopefully. What are your thoughts about where you're going to take this? Are you trying to expand? Are you just trying to make it work? What's happening?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question as well. After Hari Raya, there's a slump. So for the industry and also F&B, right? This period, all the way till probably end of September, is the low period. People are not spending. So now I'm also working to get the new supply to come in. And once that starts, I think I would like to do more of my TikTok and social media, just everybody's on social to advertise. So just trying to get more orders in, like my to-door deliveries, which is why I even allowed them to interview me in the first place. That helped. But I think to sustain long term, right? Because, now it has died down. So I need to constantly probably churn up some new content, expand it. I think in the long run, this is a model that can work because, as long as people still eat stuff, right? But, nowadays, I'm not sure about US, but like in Singapore, a lot of people are no longer cooking. Youngsters are, dual income, right? If they have a child, both of them need to work unless the guy is loaded or something. Yeah, so when they come back home from work, they're like, I don't want to cook. So without cooking, that's when all our sales will... Because you see, fishery port is actually really a sunset industry. All the wet markets are dying. You wouldn't want a youngster... They will never wake up at 6 a.m. Oh my God, I'm going to go do some groceries. No, they'll just go NTUC, order online. So I think the to-door delivery for me, I hope it will help to, sustain my business,
And I saw you also went to work in market for a while, so you could learn more about the business, right?
Yeah. So I have a wet market stall that I'm partnering with somebody, not the boss, but like partnering. It will be here in August. It will be near my house. So my customers, some of them, if they don't want to do delivery, they can opt for self-collection and you'll be at that store. So wet market is actually, it's just like hawker, like actually a lot of them are secret millionaires. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but so wet market is the same. It's actually really interesting when I was there because right when we are at Fishery Port, you sell to like the people who own the wet market stores. It's not it's directly like B2C to consumers. So at the wet market, you really see all the the aunties, and you will see how some they, hey, can I have like 5 plastic bags? I'm like, ma'am, you only order one fish. I just want 5 lah. Yeah, this kind of thing. Or like, $12 $5 cannot. Yeah, this kind of thing. And I think it's fun.
So the other wet market stall owners are the people who are buying your Jurong port fish. So now you kind of have
The whole
supply
chain.
chain.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do. And I was just figuring that on the fly. Because when I took out the wet market job, it was just because I really needed money, right? Because the business was like, I was left with 300 in the account. And I knew that I have to do something to supplement the business without taking any more savings out. So when I was there, then I realized, yeah, if I own this store, then I will own all the 3 levels of this supply. Yeah, so very excited to get it started.
And I think that's a great point you make about markets dying out since the industry. Same thing with hawkers we see. But I feel like hawkers is a bit more glamorous.
Definitely.
You don't really hear people talking about the wet market side of it.
Wet market is it obviously it's dirty and smelly, and the hours are difficult, and that's why I really, really respect all the aunties and uncles that come to my Fishery Port store. My Fishery Port, it's like in the middle of the night. Everybody's sleeping, and here they are. They're all awake, ready to choose the best fish, seafood, whatever, to bring back to their store to sell. And this is the same for vegetables as well. So for our fish especially, the aunties are really discerning. They are like, wow, one look they can tell whether this is like from the sea or is it like farmed. And this is something I'm still trying to learn. And so, I think one of the things that I really want to educate the public in time to come is really just, I hope that this wet market industry will not die off. It's not because of me only, because it benefits me. I really think it benefits everybody because other than corporate giants, right? They buy everything at a low price because they can do quantity, right? So it's like, if I sell you a fish at $10, maybe this supermarket says, you sell me at $5, I take all of your fish. But this auntie only want to take few pieces because that's all she's going to sell. But a lot of people forget that they come when the boats just dock. They take the freshest things and they sell it to you at a really low price because their overheads are lower, right? So you get the best items, and so a lot of people over time, they're like lazy or whatever. They go to a supermarket and order online. They do not know actually. A lot of them have this thinking that, it's confirm fresh. It's not. I know because I now finally am behind the scenes, right? So I know what's going on. So I really hope in time to come, I can educate public, especially youngsters too. And like now I have a baby. I want her to eat the best, the healthiest, the freshest. Yeah, so I hope that, wet market will thrive.
It's really interesting because, of course, like fishing and seafood and it's such a big part of Singapore's history and
It is.
Cuisine and everything. But, when you go to Tokyo, everybody knows, you go to the fish market and everything, right?
Yeah.
But here it's kind of off to the side. People don't think about it as much.
It really is. Nowadays, there are a lot of wet market stores that are closing down. Some of the aunties and uncles, they will even come and say, oh, bye-bye, Xiao Mei, I'm closing my store already. No choice lah, no business. And you feel very sad when you hear that. I mean, I know they have made their money, good money in fact, but it's sad because you just slowly start to see the dwindling down and the fall of something, and that's just so heartbreaking.
I think I've talked to quite a few food and beverage people and heritage people on the podcast, and it's a very similar story. It's not a business that is enticing for young people to go into, and it's hard. And then you have the other side of it with, like you mentioned, with the supermarket. Same thing with the chain restaurants, with conglomerates coming in, raising the rents up.
Yeah.
And from a consumer perspective, whether or not you want to eat at the hawker center or whether or not you want to shop at the wet market. As you said, convenience, you can get it delivered to your house. You can, when you go to the restaurant in 5 locations around the island, what you're going to get. Which is really sad because it's such a big part of what makes Singapore unique.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, and for hawker, it's still okay because of the price, right? People are still willing to eat there because it's cheaper. But yeah, I mean, I have a few friends whose parents had to close down their business because none of their children want to take over. And I think this is also something that the government is learning to realize that it's a problem because you see, I mean, Singapore is in such a way where we are like, you have to study hard. You get all your papers and everything, and then you become like a lawyer or doctor or something that's like, white collar workers. And so who's going to take all the other jobs? And then you have those Singaporeans who are telling you, so many foreigners come in and take our jobs. No, we are just trained, like we grew up in a way where we are so entitled because we are so safe and sheltered. And then we think that, the only way to go is to do 8 to 5, and my husband does an 8 to 5, and then, we BTO and stuff like that. So hawker and everything, even nowadays, if you were to ask a person, like when you first meet, a lot of them, they will say, what do you do for a living? And if you say hawker or fishmonger, they'll be like, huh? Really? Yeah, it's still like that.
Well, there's one question that I like to ask all of my guests. And that is, if I talk to you again in 5 years, what would you like to be able to tell me has happened between now and then that would make you feel like that time period was a success?
And I think first of all, we'll be like, by the way, I'm a multimillionaire. Yeah, I hope in 5 years' time, I would be able to have a thriving business. I don't think, like too much about like expanding to like, other countries or whatever. I just think maybe to have more orders coming in so that I need to hire one more worker. I think that's the sweet spot for my business, actually. I just want it to be, like that. For my JB business, obviously, more products and more customers. Yeah. Just a really steady, something that's like not going to upset the whole ecosystem there, right? Because there are a lot of big players there as well. I don't want to upset them. I really want to work like amicably. I think it reflects on my own personality. I'm not a competitive person. Maybe that's why I'm not a millionaire. And then hopefully in 5 years' time, if I ever see you, I'll be like, okay, see ya, my driver is downstairs.
And well, I hope that happens for you.
Thank you.
So if people want to follow you or want to buy fish for your door-to-door business, where can they find you?
Can actually follow me on Pauker Seafood on IG. My number is there, so they can actually just text me directly. If not, can follow my personal one because it's also linked there. I know some people just want to look at my social media and not get seafood because some of them don't cook. So I understand that. Yeah, so you can follow me on IG on Valeski, or my Facebook is Wa Valeski. I know it's not my real name. I didn't want people to check me in for no reason. Back then, at our times, right? That's what they do. So annoying.
We'll put the links in the show notes, and you've definitely inspired me to go to the wet market near my house and buy some more fish to
Please
cook at home.
do. Really, the best. I can tell you they're the best.
Look forward to tasting. So, thanks so much for joining me. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Before We Get There with your host, Nicholas Braman. Please like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Before We Get There Podcast. New episodes are released every other Thursday morning. See you next time.